Welcome back to Movie Slayer. It is me, none other than the Movie Slayer. We're here for the top 10 for 2017. You know that one year that ended like 2 months ago? But I know that all three of you, 6, 7, 5, are counting on me. So let's get on with the daggum top 10 for 2017. 2017 was a fun year. It was when Movie Slayer started in the first place, and I did kind of like a half and half thing. I was trying to do people's favorite movies and least favorite movies, as well as do some theater releases just so that I can get into the groove of going to see movies early, going to screenings, and getting movie reviews as soon as I possibly can, which is really tough considering how much editing I have to do, but, you know, it's the life of a YouTuber. That being said, I did not see or review every single movie that came out in theaters last year. And so this top 10 list is going to be a little bit subjective seeming. I don't even know if that's the word. It's not going to have everything that you guys wanted. So I did include some honorable mentions. Split, A Cure for Wellness, Shape of Water, and Blade Runner 2049. Will we see a review for some of these movies? Yeah, possibly. But I assure you that my top 10 list is definitely satisfying, and I was so glad that I was able to put these things on something special, such as a top 10 list. I feel like I'm focusing on the camera too much. Look creepy? Alright.
Number 10.
Coming in at number 10 is King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. Now this one did not end up on a lot of people's top 10 lists, and that may be due to the fact that they probably saw more movies than I did. But King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, although being a slow burn, had an excellent soundtrack, had some great scenes. I love the director. I feel like he's got a really good style about him. Most of it, I haven't even seen the Sherlock Holmes movies. Don't call poo. But I love his weird fast trick shots and his time lapses that he does. And the music was, it just meshed together so well. And it was an interesting take on the story of King Arthur, which we've gotten, you know, several times. But I am constantly listening to that daggum soundtrack. So good. Go check it out.
Number 9.
Coming in at number 9 is going to surprise you, actually. It's Dunkirk. Now, Dunkirk probably would be a little bit higher on this list. I did see it a second time recently, and I did appreciate it more. This is not to say I didn't like the movie. For heaven's sakes, it's on my top 10. I freaking loved Dunkirk, and I love anything that Christopher Nolan, well, most everything that Christopher Nolan does. Dunkirk was a one-of-a-kind war movie, centering more on the event rather than focusing on the characters that were in the event. And I thought that it established a really cool effect of either bringing your background characters to the same level as your main characters, or vice versa. It just made everyone seem to matter more. And it's a movie that, you know, if you see Saving Private Ryan, then the Americans are going to be like, yeah, America, woo! But if you watch this movie, I mean, you could root for whoever you want to, I guess, technically, because the movie isn't really about who's the antagonist, who's the protagonist, you know, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. It's not obnoxious about this idea that we're all people, we're just part of different countries, but it just very subtly and competently communicated that message without being annoying. And the music. Hans Zimmer will never fail. Ever.
Number 8.
Coming in at number 8 is It. I don't know why, I just like to say that nonchalantly. It's the shortest daggum title in history. Unless they do a prequel called It. It surprised me. That's funny. But the movie surprised me because, you know, I saw the miniseries from the 1990s. In fact, it's funny, I saw it at a church youth event. A church youth event. I saw it at a church youth event. But this movie was a great character piece. I really enjoyed, number one, that they got so many kid actors that can do as well as they did. I mean, it reminded me of the Goonies a lot, just, you know, a lot scarier with a lot more murderous psychopathic clowns. But I was entertained to no end by these kids, and I love their chemistry. And there is a powerful message at the end of this movie that I won't spoil. It's not even necessarily a spoiler. It's just the fact that this movie did what I really loved about 80s and 90s movies, and that is that they took something that you look at it and you're like, that is creepy. And they somehow made it sweet and good and wholesome. Anyways, I really loved it for that reason.
Number 7.
And at number 7 is Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok is an interesting one because I do feel like this movie could possibly move down on the list just because there was a problem that I had with it, and that is it did try to be funny a little too often. At times that it probably shouldn't have been funny. But aside from that, this is one of the best Marvel rides I have ever had. For me, the best part was at the very end when you hear the Patrick Doyle score. For the first time since the original Thor, I thought that they had done away with it when they came out with that piece of trash. And I was like, oh my gosh, don't! Gosh, don't do it! But then they brought it back. The reason why this movie could move down on the list is because immediately after that moment where I was, crying, then they decided to throw in one more joke, and, well, we didn't need that. I mean, we get it, the daggone movie is funny, but it's just a bit obnoxiously funny. Why is this movie at my number 7? I feel like I'm just complaining about it. Guys, it's a fun ride. Go watch this movie. So good. Try to keep a strong face during this number 7 title.
Number 6.
Coming in at number 6 is the one, the only, The Brave. Now, I strictly went to see only The Brave because it had my favorite actress in it, Jennifer Connelly. She's also amazing in this movie. Go figure! But that's not the only reason why I loved this movie. I mainly loved this movie because, number 1, I didn't know it was a true story, and when I learned what happened, at the very end, lots of crying and... I swear I've never heard so many sniffles in a theater with 7 people.
Number 5.
And number 5 is going to surprise people too! It is... Power Rangers! Dun, 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 dun. Yes, Power Rangers didn't end up on anybody's top 10 list. Not even close. It's like people forgot about it. And I really do think that people kind of did forget about it. I'll tell you why this movie is so memorable for me. It's because as soon as I saw that image, I was like, there's no way that that's going to be good. I mean, it's coming out, well, at least it originally was coming out in January. The date was pushed forward. Probably because they watched the screening and they were like, this is actually, kind of good. Yeah, I was just as surprised as they were because I actually got teary-eyed in this movie. I was so impressed with the actors in this movie. I remember that I was thinking, now this character would do this in this situation, or this character would act this way in this situation, or this character would say this thing in this conversation. And the movie either completely surprised me, or it did exactly what people would do or say, or how they would act in an actual situation. Forte. You get, a good character piece. It's really what Power Rangers is. The characters are very well distinguished, and I really was drawn to them. I could empathize with them. Their individual situations, with their families, with each other, with the whole, circumstance. I don't care what anyone says. Power Rangers was completely surprising. I loved it to death. It was funny. It was heartfelt. It had some great action, and it was a complete ride. Okay, on to the big ones.
Number 4.
And number 4 is maybe going to surprise people too. What? That's funny. I didn't see this movie on very many top 10 lists, and I'm actually kind of shocked. But at the same time, I'm not, because Star Wars fans, like I said, are ridiculous. Yes, it's The Last Jedi. Okay, you gotta separate yourself from the Star Wars fanboying and at least tell me that this was a great film. Yeah, there's the one part where you're like, why didn't you just tell everybody about the plan? I don't know. But there's always that one thing in a movie. I mean, even the greatest movies, there's just that one thing. But I'm telling you that I loved the competency of this movie. It was so different. It was shocking. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. And that's saying something. Either I really, really hated it and I just wanted to hate it more, which was stupid. Or I really, really loved it and I just walked out of the theater saying, wow!
Number 3. Unstoppable.
And number 3, it's not gonna surprise people. Friggin' Wonder Woman! Yeah, Wonder Woman is a complete... Wonder Woman was great. Next to Batman, the best on-screen superhero I've ever seen. A really fresh take on the ideology of just being the good Girl Scout. Superman couldn't quite do it, but Wonder Woman, she nailed it. For once in history, we have a completely righteous hero that's interesting. It's always the villain that's interesting. You know, the one that has to do wrong to do right, and that always kind of screws with your head. Well, this one screwed with my head because I walked out of the theater being like, I can be a much better person. Huh, that's weird. Yeah, instead of walking out of the movie being like, I really agree with the psychopathic clown. I'm not trashing the idea. I freaking love interesting villains. They're amazing. I love the Joker, okay? But to what end? It messes with your head, and then it doesn't really go anywhere. Makes you a more understanding person, I suppose. Which maybe that's the next step for Wonder Woman. In the next movie, she's just going to be much more empathetic with her villains. You know? Maybe we're ahead of the game. This movie nailed it. I will admit that there are parts of the third act that are a little too superhero-y. Weird superhero flying toward the camera type bullcrap. Dum bum bum ba dum bum. But guys, it doesn't matter because in every great movie there's always that one thing!
Number 2. Invincible.
Number 2, because my rating system is so pretentiously, obviously visual, and you could just look at the list and be like, yeah, that's going to be in the top 3 for sure. War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes took a couple of watches for me to be like, wow, I'm actually starting to see what a freaking masterpiece this is. And no, I'm not focusing on the special effects. That's great, and that is a tool to get us what a great character Caesar is. Speaking of great protagonists like Wonder Woman, Caesar is the man. I said it in my review and I'll say it again. He is the John Connor that we never really got. We wanted to get that military leader type John Connor. Here he is. He's just really hairy. War for the Planet of the Apes was the perfect conclusion to a new epic trilogy. Planet of the Apes, I got it. But it still was its own thing. Matt Reeves did a great job at taking something that existed and making it a little bit different. Not for the sake of being different, but for the sake of giving us something fresh, new, and enveloping. War for the Planet of the Apes, I bawled my eyes out, which is the only reason why I discarded the thing that really bugged me about the movie. Circumstantial bullcrap. If you've been on my channel, then you know what it is. I've told you what it is. Things that happen just so that we could have that one scene where we're like, oh, it's so beautiful. But in all actuality, an ape is in the middle of a military camp full of humans that want to kill apes, and he's in plain sight, and for some odd reason they can't see him, probably because the cameraman was like, hey, we're rolling. You don't see the ape, okay? We're in the middle of a moment here, okay? We're going through a thing. Yeah, it's bullcrap, but the movie was still just number 2. Number 2.
Number 1. Unfreaking believable.
And the number 1 greatest movie of 2017, hands down. I don't care how many movies I didn't see that year. This movie, it's going to be a great contender. The Greatest Showman is absolutely... I did not review that movie. No, that was not a mistake on camera. I really didn't review it because I didn't see it until this year. And, I made my honorable mentions, but this movie, it's got to be freaking good if it made it on the list, and I haven't reviewed it. So am I going to review it? You bet your sweet aspirin I'm going to review it. I don't want to give too much away because I want to save some of the excitement for my review, but I'll just say that the music is excellent, the acting is excellent, the characters are enthralling, the messages are so just right into the heart. Just saying. The Greatest Showman is a must-see for everyone. Children, young single adults, young married adults, older married adults, single people, murderers. Yeah, murderers. It'll make you a better person, make you stop killing people. The Greatest Showman, absolutely, hands down, is my favorite movie of 2017. And you might have noticed that I've been giving these little medals out that are kind of cool. You got the Unstoppable medal, you got the Invincible medal, and you got the Unfriggin' Believable medal. These medals will be placed next to the movies on the list so that way you can always look on there and say, that's probably a good movie. Which brings me into the next segment and the last segment, closing this top 10 of 2017 video, and that is what I was gonna give it a name, something epic like
The List Finality.
But I feel it's a little bit confusing. This is the only list rating system on YouTube for a movie/video game reviewing show. I mean, you look at the list and you're like, okay, that's pretty straightforward. I mean, you got, 1 to infinity of, where movies are going to fall. Near the top, it's going to be a really good movie. Near the bottom, it's going to be a complete suckfest movie. But the thing is that as you add movies to the list, then it moves movies down. But the real fallacy of this rating system is the same fallacy of every rating system. Someone's going to give Dumb and Dumber a 5 out of 5 stars, and then they're going to give Lord of the Rings a 5 out of 5 stars. I mean, they're both freaking great movies, and they're amazing, but the Lord of the Rings is going to take the cake. That is why rating systems are essentially bullcrap. I just wanted to pick something a little bit different and something a little bit more fun. It also encourages you to make a list of your own. Maybe not, 700 movies like mine, but, a top 10 list, a top 20, 50 list. You can even go so far as a top 100. It is possible. I have done it. I have it right here on my little tablet that I use. But the fun part is not revealing what is on it. But at the same time, whenever I review a movie, I just add it to the list and you can see where it is, and it's really fun. You go to the website and all you have to do is just click the movie and it'll take you straight to the review. Now, the best thing for you to do is to just go to the most current year, which is at the very top, the 2018. You click on that and you'll see where movies are aligned. Now, you are going to notice that 2017 and 2018 are actually quite different. Why? Opinions change. That's simply it. Opinions change. Giving it a name...
The list finality.
List finality is just furthering the idea that the rating even matters. The rating is this much of the review. Watch my reviews and you'll know if the movie is good. And I love putting those little medals next to the movies because despite if the movie is at number 3 or if it's down at number 127, and if it has a gold or a silver or a bronze medal next to it, then you know it's a good movie. And if you look at the other movies that are around it, you know that those movies are good movies too because they're in excellent company. Anyways, I don't care how confusing it is, okay? You watch the review, you know if the movie is good. And plus, don't take my word for it. Go see movies and formulate your own opinion. I imagine that my followers follow me because they share similar opinions to me, and that's great. And I welcome that. But I also welcome people who formulate their own opinions and do not agree with my opinions. And that is what film critiquing is all about. It's about viewing a movie and communicating what you look for that is good or bad in a movie, in your opinion. So now it's your turn. Tell me what your top 10 of 2017 was. I absolutely would love to know what those are. Please post it below in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to the Dadgum channel to get more face-explodingly awesome reviews from yours truly, and I will see you next time on Movie Slayer.